Hello all YouTubers, I am the Weather Dude, helping you to understand your weather even better. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning back into this weather presentation for August 25th, 2019. Wonderful breeze out here in the mid-Atlantic this morning, and all the windows open, so if there's a little noise, I'm sorry about that. But I hope you guys enjoy this video for today. Got a nice cool breeze flowing in, open up them windows. It's great out there for the mid-Atlantic, Midwest, and Northeast out there this morning. So as always, please consider subscribing, as well as liking and sharing the video, and ringing the bell notifications to never miss one of my videos again. And as always, please look in the description for other videos of mine with superior weather content that you won't find anywhere else. And please consider watching the whole video because we're going to be talking about a couple tropical disturbances today. Tropical Storm Dorian, which was newly named about yesterday, I think it was, about yesterday, 2 days ago. And we'll also be talking about Invest 98L that is soon to become Tropical Storm Aaron. Alright, so for the first section of this video, I'm going to be talking about Tropical Storm Dorian and then Invest 98L because Dorian is going to be more of a threat to land. Invest 98L would maybe impact Nova Scotia, but barely. So let's start with the one that's going to have a greater impact, and that is right here, Dorian. So this advisory just came out about not even an hour and a half ago, so it's a brand new advisory, 8 a.m. And it does still have sustained winds of 40 miles per hour, and there it is right there. Maximum wind gusts are 50 miles per hour, but the pressure has dropped since the 11 p.m. advisory from last night. It was like 10:12, 10:13 before it substantially dropped to 10:08. So that is a sign that it's starting to deepen a little bit, but the winds are still the same, 40 miles an hour with gusts to 50. And you can notice how small of a storm it is. You see that little teal coloring right there? That's how far the tropical storm force winds go from the center of the storm. So I'd have to zoom in all the way here so you can see just how small the storm is. And all the tropical storm force winds are on the north side of it. Not really to the east side or wrapped around it's just all on the north side of the storm. So a forecast here, at least from this graph, is that at 2 p.m. AST is the same thing as Eastern time. It's pretty much the same thing. Actually, it's exactly the same thing. And at 2 p.m. today, it might have 45 mile an hour winds with gusts of 60 miles an hour. Then 65 mile per hour wind gusts with 50 mile an hour winds by the time we head to 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon, we could have wind gusts 70 miles an hour with sustained winds about 60. And, whoops, that's the tropical storm watch that's in effect for Barbados right now. Let me see if I can click on the... There we go. So when this impacts the islands here, we're talking about Kingstown, St. George's. Could be in effect here. St. Lucia, Martinique. I know I've said that before, but... And even Dominica and Guadalupe, all those islands there could get affected by hurricane-force wind gusts. And a couple of advisories ago, it was forecast to be a hurricane with sustained winds of about 75 miles an hour, but that has now been reduced a little bit to maybe about 65 miles per hour, but we could still have hurricane-force wind gusts. So if it makes landfall around here, around St. Lucia, let's just say it does, then Martinique and Dominica are probably going to get the worst storm surge here if the winds line up right. And then it could still be a hurricane, 90 mile an hour wind gusts, 75 mile an hour sustained winds, once it passes through the islands into the eastern Caribbean, then weakens to about a mid-grade tropical storm before it makes landfall in the Dominican Republic. Passing south of Puerto Rico, but still could bring some squally conditions at the very least over to Puerto Rico. But they do kind of need the rain. But in terms of Dominican Republic, Haiti, you guys could be affected. Now here's my thing. Here's my question. No, it's a rhetorical question, but what if it can maybe make it out here? Okay, I think I should change my color because of the color. I don't think black blends in too well, or it does blend in. So let's pull out white here. What if it tracks into this area? As you can tell here, we got the track right here. What if it can extend beyond that and maybe go out in here? Same thing where 98L is. If it can do that, maybe it can strengthen more. I mean, that's more than like how many days out? Yeah, that's more like probably more than a week out. So we'll have to see what it does after that. So let's get rid of the track. Actually, let's keep the track there. Let's get rid of the cone. Maybe yeah, look better without the cone. So this is the chances of having a tropical storm force winds. All right, and I will put up the timing just in a little bit as well. And you can see the area that will be impacted the greatest by wind, again, is probably going to be St. Lucia, Martinique, and Dominica. Probably going to be your three island areas that will be impacted the most by wind, and they have the highest probability, 60 to 70% chance of tropical storm force winds. And even look at this, 50 knots is 58 miles an hour. So this is like a strong tropical storm, and we could have up to a 30% chance of having winds of 58 miles an hour. So again, but the greatest chance of the 58 mile an hour winds will just be limited to Martinique and St. Lucia, right where the storm makes landfall. Okay, and also down in Kingstown. And in terms of the probability for hurricane force winds, the greatest threat for that, again, if it does happen, the greatest threat will be Martinique and St. Lucia. So that's going to be your two areas that get targeted the most by wind. But still, Guadalupe and Dominica, I wouldn't rule you guys out either. Even Antigua, Barbuda, around St. John's, I wouldn't rule you guys out either. But the best chance for hurricane force winds will likely not be on the islands. It'll be over the Caribbean waters, as you can see here. 10 to 20% chance. But all this dark green area is about 5 to 10% chance. Alright? So what is the most likely arrival time of tropical storm force winds? Alright? So let's zoom back in. And let's do St. Lucia, Martinique, probably, I'd say about maybe overnight Monday into very early Tuesday morning for you. And Guadalupe and Dominica, maybe late Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon. Definitely Tuesday afternoon for Antigua and Barbuda over there, if you do get the tropical storm force winds. And probably threatening Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico. Let's do Puerto Rico first. Wednesday afternoon, then Dominican Republic, especially the southeastern part of the Dominican Republic, looks like late Wednesday night into Thursday. Alright, so let's move on now. And don't need this tab anymore. So this is where the storm is currently located right now. Not much, just a little L there, so the storm center. And here's Tropical Storm Dorian. Here's the model guidance. Pretty much all the models are in agreement that it's going to make landfall in the Dominican Republic at some point, and even the islands as well. As you can see by these little numbers by the islands that say 48, the model guidance is all in agreement. All the models are in agreement that probably in the next 2 days, the islands will get hit by this tropical system. And then model intensity guidance. Now remember, all the models said that it will make landfall at hour 48. So at hour 48 here, it looks like we could probably have a decently strong tropical storm on our hands, if not maybe close to a hurricane. We'll see in the next couple of advisories. I think the reason that they didn't make it a hurricane anymore when it made landfall on the islands is because there's a lot of dry air out there, even a little bit of wind shear, but there is just a decent amount of dry air and stability. And I'm surprised that this storm could form regardless of that. But again, a lot of models do also say that we could potentially even have a hurricane, which I wouldn't be surprised. But again, that would happen over the Caribbean Sea. Maybe like right around this area. It would be a hurricane. Alright. So, with that being said. Alright. So here is the GEFS tracks. And you can see again, same kind of deal. Don't worry about the strength really. I mean, that's always kind of a low bias. But just look at the tracks, you can see maybe in the next 5 days. Eastern Dominican Republic, watch out, you guys over there. Here's the GEPS tracks and the CMC ensembles. Now this kind of leads into what I was talking about earlier. Again, all of them are pretty much in agreement that it's going to come into the Dominican Republic at some point in the next few days. But some models even take it out in the Western Atlantic. Some models even take it to the Gulf of Mexico. Some models even take it, well, I mean, that's only one model does that. But again, maybe the Western Atlantic, who knows? Maybe in the next week, 8 days, 9 days, probably. Or maybe like next 7 to 10 days. We're going to have to watch where it goes after that. Because it will be probably weakened to a tropical depression once it moves over to the Dominican Republic because of all the land interaction. It'll probably weaken to about 35 mile an hour winds, tropical depression. But then it can re-strengthen, re-fire if it moves over the Western Atlantic or Gulf of Mexico. We're going to have to see. But Dorian and Aaron are more likely here. And here's satellite imagery. And you can definitely see the rotation. Looks similar to when it was still Tropical Depression 5. So it's a small storm. But remember, small storms can strengthen very quickly. And they can also weaken very quickly. So it's, 6 1/2 does have another kind of back and forth thing. So here is the GFS model. Strength here, the vorticities. Here's Dorian right there. And as we track this out, they're saying it was actually going to weaken a little bit and might not even be anything by the time it makes it over to the Dominican Republic. So we're definitely going to have to watch with this storm system here. Again, European model is kind of the same way. And 98L we'll talk about in just a little bit. And 90L we will also talk about in a little bit. And you can see it tracks through. And it will probably weaken. by the time it makes it to the Dominican Republic and even the islands. The European and the GFS are kind of giving up on this guy here, but again, they're typically not good with small systems. They just think because it's small, it can't really get that big. It can't get that strong. But they are susceptible to excessive growth and excessive, decline in terms of strength. So, if we go to tropical tidbits real fast, let me see. I have a little malfunction here. If we go to tropical tidbits, I want to look at the coordinates real quick so I know exactly what it is. So, about 11 degrees north and 52 degrees west. Okay, thank you. So, 11 and 52. Alright, so it's basically right here. And it's a little pocket of cooler waters. So, then average. It's not cool waters. But that's where it's basically located right now. And it's under a little bit of cool water. But again, it's pretty much going to be average, just slightly above average for the rest of the journey. But regardless, again, it's pretty much warm enough for development. We got 29 degrees Celsius the whole way through until it goes on its weakening and on its decline. Alright. So here's the tropical intensity index. Again, maybe a little push of wind shear from the north could maybe turn this area unfavorable. We'll have to see, but hopefully it'll probably avoid that area and go in as highly favorable area for tropical development. Alrighty, and again, a dry air. And we have another tropical wave, by the way, coming off the coast of Africa. It's getting ready to emerge this afternoon, if not tomorrow. And we'll have to watch that one. And the dry air seems to be going down. Not as much over this area anymore. So all the dry air is getting pushed over here. So I think once this dry air, once all this that you see here, once this moves to the Caribbean and like out to the west towards the Pacific, once that all moves out, then I think it's gonna be replaced by not as unstable air. I think this will be probably one of our last pushes of dry air that we see coming in this area. But again, another tropical wave there, and here's Dorian, and it's about to run into some dry air. So that's why I said, and that's why the model's saying it's not really gonna be a hurricane. It's not going to strengthen as much anymore. It will be a hurricane, just not when it hits the islands, which is some good news. Maybe lessening those rainfall totals and the strength of the system as well. Heat content, it's up there, especially after it leaves the islands. It'll run into some more, higher heat content before it makes landfall in the Dominican Republic. And again, wind shear. Here's the storm right now, and it's going to run in a little bit of barrier of wind shear. As I showed you on that tropical intensity index, here's that little push from the north there of wind shear. So that's why I said again, that little push from the north is going to help to create some unfavorable conditions and some higher wind shears. And not overall, wind shear won't be that bad. It'll probably run into some 20 to 25 knots. And then once it gets out over in here again in the Caribbean, it'll probably do a little bit better. Caribbean, again, wind shears have been, at least the vertical shear has been down since like May and June. Now remember, vertical shear is the change of wind direction with height. So maybe at the surface we got west winds. Maybe at 10,000 feet we got east winds, or let's say north. So that's vertical shear. Now speed shear, they're all wind shears, but speed shear, the other one, is change of the wind speed with height. So maybe the winds were at 10 miles an hour at the surface, and 10,000 feet are like 60 miles an hour. The higher the difference between those numbers, the more wind shear there is. So luckily, lower vertical shear there in the Caribbean there. All right, now we're gonna go over to Invest 98L. All right, so here's Invest 98L. Now we're gonna switch gears for the latter half of this video and go over to where it's impacting now the southeast coast. It's gonna strengthen now. As you can see, as I will show you, it has started to strengthen. And if we pull up that same graph on tropical tidbits and you go over to the current storm section and then go to 98L, the pressure has dropped a little bit to 1011 as opposed to 1012 before. Winds are still at 30 miles an hour with wind gusts about 40 miles per hour. Here's the forecast tracks. Again, if these models are right, let me rephrase this. If the models take it farther east, if these models are right, there will be less rip currents on the east coast. However, if these models are right, which I think these models right here, the ones on the left, are probably going to be more accurate, and those will result in some high rip currents, especially for the northeastern New England as the storm continues to deepen as it moves up to the North Atlantic. GFS and GEPS pretty much showing the same thing here, going off the southeast coast. But the intensity guidance really taken into about a tropical storm. At first, especially the European model was going a little bit bullish on at first. They were thinking like a hurricane. But here's the satellite loop for 98L. And actually, you can't really tell where the storm center is. I mean, it's hovering somewhere right here. And you can see here's all the convective activity off to the east side of the center. Alright, so sea surface temperature anomalies are definitely above average for the whole rest of the journey with this storm system here, as opposed to Dorian, where it's not going to be so much, but still warm. And probably going to deal with some sea surface temperatures of 28 to 30 degrees Celsius, which is about mid to upper 80s, and even close to 90 actually. And because the storm is close enough to the United States, we're going to use high-resolution modeling like the NAM3CAM, for example. So here we go. We take this all the way through, and here it is. Let's see, right here. Pressures of around 10 millibars. Monday morning here, here's the storm center. There's all the rain. And you can see it will continue to deepen right there, and it's going to keep moving up. 10:07. And I wouldn't be surprised if some banding features tried to make it to the coast, but again, I think due to that cold front, this storm system should be mainly off the coast and shouldn't impact land all that much. Alright, let's see, according to the NAM3CAM model, how much precipitation we're going to have. Again, you can see at the Carolina coast, the area that will probably get the most rain is probably Cape Hatteras and near Virginia Beach. But again, all the 2+ inches is going to stay well offshore according to the NAM3CAM model. How about the NAM12KM? Not as a high resolution, but it does go out a little bit longer to 84 hours as opposed to 60. Here's hour 57. There's low pressure. Again, some of these rain bands are going to try to make it to North Carolina. If this storm can deepen and move a little bit farther west, then I wouldn't be surprised if those rain bands did make it to North Carolina. But other than that, it's going to pull off. And look at this. Look at the 3 hour. 10-12. Look at this. Then it moves whoop up to the north. And if that low can stay there like that and this rain can wrap around, who knows? But luckily, that cold front has saved our lives here. And the storm won't be moving really too far inland. At least, so that's some good news. It got a little frozen up there. Alright, there we go. So let's look at the precipitation now with the NAM12KM model. And you can see, again, the area with the highest rain is going to be Cape Hatteras, if any. But other than that, again, the 2+ inch rainfall totals will stay offshore. Again, so I'm going to show you the same maps, we're just going to focus on a different region. So the tropical intensity index is highly favorable now, but won't be quite as favorable later. And the National Hurricane Center actually reduced the chances of development with the system from 90% to 80%, which, I mean, it's still probably going to form, but just not looking as strong. Again, no dry air in the path of this storm system at all, actually. No dry air. Cyclonic heat, oceanic heat here, looking pretty high, and will stay high up until it gets to around North Carolina. And then the wind shears will be a little bit on the high side as well, as it moves up to the Carolinas. So that is it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. I am the Weather Dude, signing off. Till next time. Catch you guys next video.